Hello everybody, it's Dove again. So I thought I would do a video reviewing and testing my new personal locator beacon. This is the ACR ResQLink and it's the model 400. It doesn't have the digital screen or anything, so this is the lesser expensive model. And I have already taken it out of the box and I did the registration and everything. This is the little quick start guide, and it is very bare bones, and it's not thorough at all. So they tell you to go to their website right there for the full manual, and that's a 30-page long PDF manual. So it's really important that you read through that whole thing first before you get started with this, because there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about. And so they give you an envelope to send the registration in, and they have the registration form there. But it's faster if you go to that website right there. That's a government website, and it will speed up your process, because once you get it registered, you have to wait for a couple weeks for the sticker that you put on the back of the beacon. And so it's just faster if you don't have to go through the whole process of filling this out and mailing it in, waiting for it to come back and everything. So I did register this online, and you need to have this form with you because it's got a checksum number on it. And I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. It says CHK, that stands for checksum, and they'll ask you for that. But I think that one is actually optional, but it helps them to make sure that that number is matched to your beacon number. And so the UIN is the 15-digit code that identifies your beacon. And so they'll ask you for all that information when you go to register it. And you do have to re-register it every couple years, but apparently, allegedly, they will send you either through the mail or email, they'll send you a reminder that you have to register it when it comes to be that time. And there is a flaw. I think it's a flaw. I mean, it's probably just me, but I don't actually like the fact that the test button and the activation button are so close together. 2 days ago, I went to test this and I accidentally set it off. I literally activated it and I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, I just activated that. I have it on camera. I might put the blooper at the end or whatever, but it was just nervousness at actually handling this thing, because it's a one-shot thing, you know. And also I was filming, and so I guess I wasn't paying very good attention, which was my bad. But if you accidentally set it off, you have the ability to turn it back off. You know, you push the button. There's the antenna. This is the antenna. You just take it out of the thing, and right there is the face of it. The red button is the activation button, and the T is for test. And see, you can't test it without taking the antenna out. It has to sit like this, either on the ground or in your hand. But this is the GPS thing, and it says give it a clear view to the sky. So this has to be facing up, and also the antenna has to be facing up. So that's the position right there that it has to sit in. I mean, you can hold it in your hand like it, you know, you had no choice, but you have to hold it like that and hold it facing straight up, because, you know, that would not work. This would not work, because then the GPS is facing forward and not up. So I did that, and I pressed you're supposed to press the test button for 2 to 5 seconds. I pressed the activation button for 2 seconds, which is what you do to activate it, and it was flashing strangely. It wasn't doing the flashing that I was expecting to happen during the test, and I didn't realize at first that I had done that. And when I saw it doing other types of flashing, that's when I realized right away that I accidentally pushed the activation button. So they give you a phone number in that instruction manual that you have to call if there's a false activation, you have to call them right away and tell them that it was a false alarm. And so I highly recommend that whenever you're testing these beacons, doing your monthly and yearly test and everything, I highly recommend being in an area where you have cell phone coverage, because if you push that activation button on accident, you have to be able to call them. And there's my proof. That's them. That's their phone number. I was on the phone with him for 1 minute. He was really nice, very understanding. I told him that I had just registered it. I put that name in. I added them as a contact. After I called them, I added them in my phone as a contact. So from now on, whenever I'm testing this, I'm going to make sure that I am in an area where I have cell phone coverage, because if I goof up and do that again, I've got to call these people again. And there's no harm, like, you don't have to panic or anything. Just make sure you call them, make sure you deactivate it. You know, the manual will tell you how to do that. You just push the button again for a couple seconds. That will turn it off. But my cat's going crazy over there. But make sure you call them, because there can be consequences. They could go ahead and send out the rescue service and you didn't need it, and that would probably cost you money and everything. So for when you call them, they will ask for the UIN number, and all of that is on the label right here. So they will ask for the identification number of the beacon. They'll ask where you are, and you know, when it went off, and you know, why it went off. I told him, I was like, I literally just registered it yesterday and I went to test it and I accidentally pushed the activation button. He's like, no problem. So you just tell him why it went off, for how long, and then he did ask me for my name to match it to the registration that I had already entered in. So that was that. Make sure you're somewhere where you can call them if you make a mistake. And so there's actually two tests. One's the basic self-test, and the other one is the test for the actual GPS chip module or whatever is in there. And they are two totally separate tests. And the basic self-test, they tell you to perform. My cat's on the counter over there. She thinks she's getting away. She is getting away with it. Okay. Normally I don't let her on the counter. But the basic self-test, they recommend for once a month. And so that's 60 tests. So that enables you to test once a month for 5 years. And 5 years is the guaranteed life of the battery. This was actually expires in 2028, so I've got 6 years. But they give you up to 60 self-tests, and then they shut it down. They won't let you do any more self-tests, because if you over-test it, it will run down the battery, and if you ever got an emergency, the beacon would not stay on as long. So you do want to only do the self-test as recommended. And then the GPS test, they give you 20 of those, and the math goes out to, I think, quarterly. So 4 times a year for 5 years, that's 20 tests. So I probably, after this one, I will do the GPS test on the equinoxes and the solstice, just to make it easy on me to remember, you know, it's 4 times a year. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. We're already past the equinox, the fall equinox, but that's okay. I'm just going to act like it's the fall equinox, and then I'll do it again in December for the solstice. And so the basic self-test, again, it has to sit on the ground like that, and you have to have a clear view to the sky. I can't do it in here, obviously. I'm going to take it outside, but it's kind of cold today. That's why I'm in here doing the first part of the video. And so you press the test button for 2 to 5 seconds, and this little light over here, there'll be a green flash, and that will tell you that it's initiated. And then there will be 3 more green light flashes and a strobe. And I'm not sure if the strobe comes from there or there, but there is a like a white strobe that you should see. And during that test, if you see any red light at all, it means that it's failed. And so the battery, either there's something wrong with the battery, or you know, something else happens. So you have to repeat the test. If it fails again, then you have to contact the manufacturer. And for the GPS self-test, you press this test button for 5 to 10 seconds. And again, it will do one quick green light and then 3 more green lights. And so that's the same as the self-test. But then after that, it will flash red every 5 seconds until it picks up the GPS signal. And then it will go to a green light plus a strobe, and that means that it's passed. It passed the GPS test. Now, if the red light keeps flashing, it won't flash for any more than 110 seconds, so almost 2 minutes. So it will attempt to find the GPS for 2 minutes, and the red light will flash every 5 seconds until it finds it, or until it reaches 110 seconds, and then it will just shut down, and that means it failed. And again, if it fails, you have to perform the test again, just as a backup, and if it fails again, then you have to contact ACR, because there's obviously something wrong. So those are the 2 tests, and I'm going to take this outside now, and hopefully I don't activate it again. And when you're doing the test, you can't stand over it. So you can't, like, you know, stand over it and to look for the flashing lights or anything, because you're going to be blocking any kind of view of anything, and so you can't stand over it. So I'm probably just going to have the camera real close to it, and I will just point it down, and hopefully you guys will be able to see the light. I'm not sure if you will or not, but that's how I'm going to position the camera outside, so that I'm not standing over it and the camera's not over it. Okay, hold on. Alright, here we go. I'm kind of nervous. I don't want to screw it up again. So again, it's sitting facing straight up. The antenna is straight up. Just like that. And you push the T for test for 2 to 5 seconds, and I'm not standing over it, and the camera is about 4 inches away from it. Hopefully we'll still be able to see that light. And so you push the test button for 2 to 5 seconds. 1001, 1002. There's the first green light. 1, 2, 3. And then the strobe. That was it. That was the basic self-test. And it passed. There was no red lights. And so now I'm going to do the GPS self-test. And you press the test button for 5 to 10 seconds. And it'll do that green light sequence again. And then it'll start flashing red. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it went through that green light flashing very, very quickly. And now it's doing the red light flashing. And it's supposed to do that every 5 seconds until it connects with the GPS. Again, it has up to 2 minutes, almost 2 minutes. I guess I should have looked what time it is. Okay, 6:43. And there's no trees directly above me. There is a tree off to the right, but I am not under the canopy of that tree. Yep, there it went. That was the green light, and then the strobe was down here. So it passed, I think. I don't know why it flashed again, but I'm pretty sure it passed, because it did the it did the sequence, and then the green light and the strobe light flashed. So GPS is working, battery is working, everything seems good to go, and hopefully I will never need to use this thing. I'm gonna put the antenna back away, and they do give you these accessories. There's a belt clip, and there's something that you can attach it to a life jacket, and all the attachment instructions are in that 30-page manual that's online. And then they give you this Velcro that you can, or hook and loop, I don't know if it's Velcro or not, but you can thread that through this, and you can attach it to your backpack or whatever. And they tell you that it's water resistant or waterproof, but you wouldn't want to keep it under the water for very long. And I actually have a dry bag that is meant to put your phone in, but I have 2 of them, so I think I'm going to go ahead and put this one inside of a dry bag and put that in my backpack, just to make sure that, you know, it never gets wet or injured, because I know throwing it into your backpack, a lot of people complain that happens right there. If you're just throwing it into the bottom of your backpack or your dry bag, it could easily flip open. So I'm going to keep it in that small, very small dry bag so that won't happen. Alright, you guys, that was it. I will talk to you again in another video. Bye. Hello everyone, it's Deb again. So I just got myself one of these personal locator beacons. This is the ACR ResQLink 400, and I already got it registered with NOAA and everything, and now I just have to perform the self-test to make sure that everything's working properly. There's actually 2 different tests that you perform, and the first one is the just testing out the whole feature itself, and then the second test is to test the GPS on there. And you have to, of course, take the antenna off, and it's got to be pointing straight up, just like that. This has to be pointing straight up, and the GPS has to be facing straight up. It says give a clear view to the sky, and that means that you can't stand over it either. Like if you stand over it, you'll block the signal. So this has to be facing up, and this has to be facing up. And so I can't really set the camera over it, and I can't stand over it. So I'm just gonna have to point the camera, or get as close as I can without it actually being over top of it. And let's see, I wrote down notes. For the first self-test, you have to depress the test button for 2 to 5 seconds. 1001, 1002. Okay, that's bad. Whoops, I just screwed up. Now I gotta call it.